Yeah.
Hey yo, man, it's your time. And fuck poverty. Get this money, man. What the fuck you gotta do, you know what I'm saying?
I can tell you're mad at me just by how your face look. You can check the status on my level, not my Facebook.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Phil and Leroy the Judgmental Podcast. No Philip today. I'm Leroy. So we have a guest. He might take the place of Philip. I don't know. We got writer, director, producer, business owner, podcaster, and editor-in-chief of ScoonTV.com. And I'm pretty sure I'm missing something. Welcome, Mr. Curtis Scoon. How you been, sir?
Man, thank you so much for having me, bro. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So, how you been?
Good, man. Just working. I work round the clock, man. Even on Sundays. I did an Instagram Live, an interview yesterday on Father's Day at 6 p.m. I just got to do what I got to do to keep it going.
Mm-hmm. So, how was your Father's Day?
Oh, it was cool. It was cool. I actually hung out with my daughter on Saturday. We went bike riding for about 5-6 hours, man. So when I came in, I went right to sleep, woke up, and woke up at around 9 o'clock at night because I came in like 4:30. And yeah, I was burnt out, man. She took me on a spin.
Now, before we begin, Creams reigned supreme 2005, 2006.
Yeah, I think it's 2005. Yeah.
Now, at that time, it had 50 Cent name on it, so everybody tried to get anything with 50 Cent name on it, albums, mixtapes, anything. And someone gave me that book. Who's the author? Ethan Brown?
Ethan Brown. It was his idea to put 50 Cent name on the cover. I just wanted to call the book Queens Reign Supreme, because I came up with the title. However, when it comes to marketing, 50 was super hot at that time. And you are correct. People would put his name on anything. And the book actually did have something to do with him to a small degree. So it wasn't wrong for putting his name on there, but I think that's what they call clout chasing, and I don't do that. You know what I mean? Look, yeah.
So as reading the book, someone gave me that book back then. I can't remember where I got it from. And I'm reading the book, and the internet wasn't really, really big as it is.
Right.
I've seen he did an interview. I forget where it was, but it was on the internet somewhere. He had done an interview about the book. And I'm reading the book and the lingo and everything. And I'm saying to myself, he didn't write this. I was like, there's no way he wrote this book. And go ahead.
He did write it. However, I was a constant resource. He talked to me daily, several times a day. I facilitated all of the interviews. I provided court transcripts, tapes, all kinds. I even gave him access to someone who was in the witness protection program. You see, writing is about grammar, vocabulary, but to be a great writer, you have to have content. And a lot of people who are great writers, a lot of people who are writers went to school for it, have a degree. College won't give you content. And that's where we kind of like intersect. A lot of these people like Ethan, they need people like me to give them content. In my case, I can write, but for some reason, like I won't get the same kind of deals that an Ethan would, at the time.
Why is that?
Oh, listen, man. Look, but he was a writer at New York Magazine at the time. So that makes a book publisher comfortable. Like, okay, this guy writes for a living. He's not just someone with a good pen game. He has a brand, because if you're constantly in New York Magazine, there are people, they used to have a lot of readers in this country. I don't think reading is that popular anymore. So if you subscribe to a magazine, you recognize certain journalists. You may like their style, the stuff they cover. So basically, Ethan having a foundation in New York Magazine, a publishing company would assume, one, he knows how to write on a level that we're comfortable with, and two, he has some kind of base. Perhaps the people who like his content would buy the book. Whereas I didn't have those things. And I'm being just totally honest. I don't think those things matter as much as some people make it matter. At the end of the day, content is everything, man. If you don't have content, you don't have nothing. You could be great with a camera and can shoot great shots, but what are you shooting?
Right.
If you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I think a lot of people who don't have content, they try to downplay the people like myself who bring content to the table to make us feel like we need them more than they need us. But we can learn to do what they do. Right. They can't learn what we have, what we know, what we live through. They can't learn that. So I think we have the upper hand.
Especially now with the internet, and
yes.
Maybe things were different. Pretty much what you just explained. Things were different back then, where you had to have someone that had their foot in the door.
Yep.
Now you pretty much can make your own door and walk right through it. So I'm glad you put it like that. So that makes the younger folks or younger men or younger women hear what you just said, that you don't need that stuff anymore. So I'm glad you put it that way.
I will say this though, with new levels come new devils. So now that everyone can make their own content, there's a saturation of content. So the challenge isn't making your content anymore. The challenge is getting attention to your content now, because there's so many options out there. So there's always something, man. Success just doesn't come easy. I don't care what it is. I don't care who you are. You got to be ready to fight to win, because nobody's going to just hand anything to you. And if you tap out at the first sign of resistance, you didn't deserve it anyway.
Right. True. So that was a great way to put it. So you in a little bit of controversy today, so now explain to us, what did you say about Kamala Harris, or Vice President Queen in Charge?
Listen, right, a lot of people, they disparage Kamala Harris over, I don't even know if her name is Kamala or Kamala, right? But I'm confused, but I'll say Kamala. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris over her past romances, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't do that, right? I don't do that. She's an older woman. She's in her 50s. And I think she got married kind of late in life. So I think it's kind of hypocritical for people to go after her because of her romantic history. Because, if we're all being honest and we look at our own romantic histories and the romantic histories of our significant others, I mean, who could stand up to that scrutiny, right? But my issue with her is simple. I just don't think she's competent for the job. I also think that she's typical of politicians, whereas she'll say whatever is needed to be elected. She did terrible in the primaries, yet somehow she got put on the ticket because Black people needed representation. We do need representation, but we need qualified representation. We need representation that's going to get up in there and do more than just be Black. So what I did was I posted pictures of her dinner with the Senate. Now, I believe the VP is the head of the Senate or something like that. And all the senators, she only invited women senators. So of course it was like all white women. But the odd thing was the only 2 Black people in the room were a guy in a butler outfit, right, and a Black woman who looked like Oprah.
Who was that? She couldn't have been.
I said it was the maid, but somebody said it was her chief of staff. I don't know. The woman was dressed like she was in the color purple.
Exactly.
And so now today, all the Black women, they got not all Black women. Let me say that, but there's a certain clique of Black women. I call them the Yas queens. So they all coming for me. And they insulted me like crazy today, and I'm laughing reading it, because the thing about social media and me is that I don't take any of this stuff seriously.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, they're just driving my engagements, driving people to my site, to my page. Those people will investigate me. Believe it or not, some of them will visit my site and subscribe. So I thank my haters. My haters have always uplifted me, even though that wasn't their intention. If you don't pick up new haters every week, you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? Because when you're doing it right, you get some haters. I mean, I'm entitled to my opinion. I think the optics on that picture was terrible.
Yes.
It doesn't matter that there's no black women in the Senate. You are a black VP woman. You knew in advance before you decided to invite all the women senators. You knew the composition that you was inviting. You had to know that to have all these white women and to have a black butler and all that it just wasn't going to look right.
Right.
But I don't think she knew it. And I'll tell you why she didn't know it. It went over her head. It's because our black leaders, quote unquote, black politicians, our black elite, they are so comfortable in white spaces that it doesn't even register with them sometimes, because they're not really around us. They claim to represent us, but they don't spend much time with us. Anybody who's around black people would have noticed the poor optics of those pictures, but she didn't. And I don't think she meant any harm. But the fact that she didn't even realize that something was wrong for somebody who's supposed to represent us shows you why she shouldn't be representing us. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
She didn't have to make that meeting exclusively for women senators. She could have thought in advance that, you know what? I want to do something that's going to get some black people in the room, because as the first black woman VP, the optics wouldn't look right. Now, I'm not a big fan of the CBC, but I think she could have invited a few women from the CBC just to have some black women in the room. And possibly they could have networked. It could have been a great opportunity for black women in Congress to interact with white women in the Senate. See, to me, that's leadership right there.
Right.
But when you don't naturally have that, you don't think in these ways. So yeah, all these fools are in my mentions today. It doesn't bother me at all, man. I'm having fun. They're like lab rats to me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. So you also tweeted, Black libs are celebrating Juneteenth. Black conservatives are criticizing it. I'm so tired of the economy. Talkers talk and doers do. If some people are happy with the symbolism, that's on them. All that means is it won't take much to satisfy them. Do with that what you will. Now, the question I want to ask you is, okay, it's Juneteenth. When are we going to get our mattresses on sale? And when are we going to get our cars?
Look, I'm from New York. I honestly never heard of Juneteenth until probably the last 10 years or something. I didn't know anything about it,
Well, my mom had a book. I was still in school, and she had a Juneteenth book that she read. That's the only way I know about Juneteenth, is she had a book that had Juneteenth on it.
And here in Washington, D.C., where I am now, there's a thing called Emancipation Day in D.C. that I just learned about Emancipation Day in the last 10 years. So listen, I'm not going to belittle people for what they want to celebrate. However, I'm not going to accept these holidays as any substitution for tangible outcomes, because they just it doesn't match up, So if people want to celebrate Juneteenth, I mean, you got people who want to celebrate everything, every graduation, gender reveals, baby showers, and that's what they do. I mean, hey, have fun. But that's not what I do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested in outcomes for myself and others.
The only people who's going to benefit is the store owners. These, like I said, these stores are going to have Juneteenth jambalayas and mattresses and used cars, no money down, no interest or whatever. And I was talking to my cousin. Okay, now Juneteenth is the 18th.
19th.
The 19th. Okay. So that's going to fall. 19th will be a Saturday next year.
That was a Saturday this year. So
Okay.
it'll be a Sunday
it'll be
next
a Sunday.
year.
Okay, so they'll probably observe it on Monday, then the following Monday, so the 20th. Now this is a blockbuster movie season. What you think is going to happen next year? And I'm thinking that Black Panther 2 might be out next year. So don't be surprised if Black Panther 2 comes out on that Friday.
Well, Juneteenth is in the middle of Pride Month. So you might be right, because I mean, I'm sure there'll be some pride themes in Black Panther 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then, Juneteenth. So it'll be a double bonanza. Yep. All of these intersectional people can go to the movies and Wakanda forever. and listen, man, I'll be honest. If that's what they want to do, so be it. But that's not a substitute for progress to me.
Exactly.
I'm not knocking people in their personal choices. Some people, man, they're just not really deep thinkers. Mm-hmm. So they need things they can relate to, they can participate in. So that's for them. It's just not for me.
Right. So in Detroit, the Coleman Young II, the Coleman Young II, Educational Foundation focused on providing at-risk youth access to college preparation, STEM, and entrepreneurial programs, as well as internships and scholarships. What made you want to start the STEM program in Detroit?
Just doing my little piece. I think a lot of us are caught up in a lot of virtue signaling, and I'm concerned for our youth. I myself, I don't have a college degree. I'm not proficient in STEM or any of those things, right? So I'm not an instructor. But I think in order for our youth to compete in the 21st century, they're going to have to become technologically savvy. And I don't mean just using gadgets and the latest iPhone for features. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have to become technologically savvy. And I think we are lagging behind in that. We keep getting sold on the same things, arts, poetry, music, blah, 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 sports.
Athletics, right.
Yeah, sports. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not knocking those things. Some people were born to be athletes. Some people were born to be entertainers. However, you cannot convince me 40%, 50% of a population were born to play sports, were born to be athletes. I think we need to leave the athletics to the people who are naturally gifted in that regard. And the others need to stop thinking that they're going to find a shortcut to getting rich and figure out what they're good at and concentrate their efforts there. And in order to compete in this world, unless you want to be in the service industry and do Instacart and all these things, and I'm not knocking any of that, Uber Eats, somebody got to do these jobs, right? But if you don't want to limit yourself to those type of employment opportunities, you will have to take on some kind of higher skill set.
Yes.
And I think the STEM is good. I will say this, you will be surprised how many of our kids don't want to learn STEM.
Why?
I think the reasons can be complicated, but I'll try to sum it up for you. It's hard. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. And people, I don't want to put that just on our kids, right? I think parents have to get more involved, because human nature is to avoid adversity. But in education, adversity kind of sharpens you and make you ready for the world. So kids, if you leave it up to them, they're not going to take the harder classes, because it means they're going to have to work and study, and they may want to spend more time, having fun. But that's where parents are supposed to step in. And I think we live in a period where if the kid is 15 and his mom is 32, mom and the dad might be incarcerated or deceased or just not around for whatever reason, mom is still kind of living her life, and the kid is kind of like trying to figure it out on his or her own. And choosing STEM, you got to be a really special kid to be like, you know what? I want to change the cycle, and I don't need anybody pushing me. I'm going to push myself. That's a lot to ask of any kid, you know? We just need better. Our parents have to get more involved. I had one kid drop out of the program, and the mom said, listen, he just doesn't want to do it. This is a free service. We're trying to get your kids ready. I mean, what do you want them to do? Are they going to just make a mixtape? I don't, you know, I don't know. So a lot of our problems, right? We could talk about slavery. We could talk about the civil rights. I'm not going to negate any of those contributing factors. I just don't fixate on them. I try to focus on the things we have control over. And what we have control over is our home, our household. I think we need to put more energy and focus into structuring the household properly. And then the products of that household will perform a lot better in the world at large.
Okay. And what are the grades?
We're high school right now. Okay. We want to expand it. I'm thinking we need to get, you know, junior high students, because truthfully, the younger you get the kids, I think the more likely you have better outcomes. You know, by 16, kids are pretty much who they're going to be. Not saying they can't turn their life around, but they kind of figured out what they want to do already, and learning new things. And also they start getting into each other. So, you know, you got those early, the puppy love and all that as a distraction. So it might be a lot better to catch them earlier. And that takes resources. And when the program first started, I was paying for it, paying for everything out of my own pocket. You know, since then, we've been able to get funding. Booz Allen gave us $40,000. And there's another there's another company that they're going to make the press release today. I can't say their name. They're giving us $25,000. Comerica gave us $3,000. It's not a lot of money. We're not doing this to line our pockets. Most nonprofits, 85% of the cost goes towards administration expenses. All of our money is going towards the kids. We bought laptops. We've given the kids laptops that they can keep, that we worked and did the Zoom thing with. But we got to get back into schools so we can go into labs and actually start building things. Because we launched the program during COVID. Keep that in mind too, right? And, you know, everything's been chaotic during COVID. The schools were, you know, they weren't having teachers or students in the school. And we pushed through it. And I had never done anything like this. My role is primarily just what it says. I am a director. So I'm not interacting with anybody, but I'm telling everybody how to be effective and how to execute. I'm more a strategic type of person, be it politics, business, or even with my tweets. I kind of know I kind of understand the opposition, and I know how to work it to my advantage. So I bring that skill set to the foundation, along with my resources, of course.
And you came to Detroit from your documentary, Black, White, and Blue?
Yes.
Okay, your documentary, Black, White, and Blue, directed by Asia Norris and produced by yours truly, Curtis Scoon. Now yes. Tell us, what is it about?
Well, the poster's right behind me on the wall right there, Black, White, and Blue. And it was a rebuttal to the type of people that's in my mentions today insulting me. Twitter's a fascinating place. This film is a product of Twitter. Most of the people in the film were people I connected with on Twitter. And even the people that did the score, Foreign Exchange, Fonte and Zoe, I connected with them on Twitter. So Twitter is a great experience for me, but the film is about race, politics, and police. You know, with the killing of Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, there was a lot of activism online and certain things that were being said. I was adding on to it, but there's a group of people in our community who want to blame white people for everything. And then they blame white people, and the same white people they blame, they expect them to fix it, right? So to me, you got to make up your mind. If these people mean you no good, according to you, then why would they come and solve your problems? It just doesn't make sense to me. You understand what I'm saying? It's a contradiction. It's like getting robbed and expecting the bandit to come back and give you money to pay your mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
No, if he took the money from you in the first place, he obviously doesn't care what happens when your mortgage payment comes.
Right.
So to me, it's just bizarre, and they just sound crazy and stupid to me. So I would express certain things, right? I happen to think 98% of the high-profile cases where people were killed by police, I think that it was avoidable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was avoidable if the person who was killed, and I'm not blaming the victim here, if the person who was killed understood their position a little better and reacted a little differently. You know, even though this is a cop, you don't know if he's a psycho, you don't know if he's a racist, but what you do know is he has a gun, right, and you don't. So even though in a perfect world, the cops are to serve and protect, we know the world isn't perfect. When a cop has a gun and you don't have a gun, my suggestion is you handle it how you would handle any other situation where you're dealing with an armed person and you're not armed. Mm-hmm. You know, but when you make those kind of suggestions, you're called a coon, and it's called respectability politics. No, these are survival tactics.
Yes.
That's all it is. You know what I mean? Do you want to be dead and be a martyr and be like George Floyd and have a statue all over the place? Or right, do you want to live? You understand? So I think when you tell people, and again, it's not to victim blame, it's to use examples so there won't be any more of these people. You just can't win a fight with the police arguing, mm-hmm, resisting, being emotional, right, talking about racism while you got a gun pointed at you. Mm-hmm. You just can't win. So my suggestion to people is, yo, man, first, just stay calm. And don't even worry about why they pulled you over or anything. If you feel that you were wrong, the first thing you have to do, if you feel you were wronged, the first thing you have to do is get away from that scene in one piece. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you can go file a complaint at the station. If you have the resources, you can hire an attorney. I'm not saying to let police walk over you and get away with it. Right. I'm just saying there's a way to go about correcting it, and it's not arguing with them in the heat of the moment. Right.
You made me think about your video that you, what was the video like a couple of weeks ago? What was you coming out the barbershop?
Oh yeah, when the brother was screaming and cursing at the police.
Yeah, you can't win that way.
No, you cannot. And the cops showed a lot of restraint. Right. See, and I don't know for a fact. My barber knows the guy. My barber says that he's a lunchbox, meaning he's crazy. You know what I mean? Like he's out to lunch. Like said he's a lunchbox, you know, that he'd been in prison, he just got out not too long ago, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's pretty evident. A guy like the one that I posted, you know, he's not really going to work with a suit and tie or anything, you know what I mean? So anyway, what I think happened from the police perspective is the cop was black, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the cop showed extreme restraint because this guy was bigger than him, towering over him, barking at him, challenging him to pull his gun out. And I got it all on tape, right? Over a ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the cop showed extreme restraint because he knew that if he shot that guy, he would be in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I have no proof, but I think the fact that it was a black cop, he may have been additionally fearful. He may get sacrificed to appease the crowd if he shot the guy. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
So to me, like, we say we need more black police officers, and then when we have them, we disparage them and disrespect them. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't. That's why I kind of deal with kids and get away from all of that stuff, because it's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. There's so many people who say we need black police officers, right? And I'm not saying black police officers should get a pass or anything, but you saw the tape. That cop said nothing. He did nothing. He gave you a ticket. That's his job, man. The dude was parked illegally in an illegal spot. He got a ticket. Own up to it, man. All right, you got me, man. All right, cool, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And thing about it is the guy was controversial walking up to the cop, and the cop was like backing down.
Yes, he was, because he didn't want to hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew if he shot that man and that man was unarmed, the whole community would have come out marching, protesting. He would have lost his job, would have had to go through a trial. He's probably a guy, got a wife, a home, a mortgage to pay. He don't need that kind of a turmoil in his life. So he just let this big dude just disrespect him and walk all over him. So on both sides, as black men, we facing all kinds of problems. And a lot of our problems come from each other, man.
Right.
We just got to be honest about what it is. And that's not to say they aren't racist police. And they need to be dealt with. Absolutely. Any cop who breaks the law need to be treated like anyone who breaks the law, period.
Right. Now, speaking of George Floyd, now there's statues, one in Trenton, New Jersey, and there's one in Brooklyn, New York.
There's one in Newark, New Jersey, that I know of, and one in Brooklyn. They're probably going to pop up everywhere, though. So, you know.
Well, the question is, does he have roots in Trenton and New York, Brooklyn?
He has no roots in Newark or Brooklyn. I don't think he ever stepped foot in those places. But he's become a symbol of black pride. I don't get it. Again, I will say, if George Floyd means something to you, that's on you. He means nothing to me.
Exactly.
And that's no disrespect to him. He suffered a tragedy. It was unfortunate. The cop got arrested. His family got $27 million. None of that will bring him back. But I'm not even sure that the people who got the $27 million would want to bring him back if it meant they had to give up that $27 million. You understand what I'm saying? So
and the fame and quote unquote fame and notoriety also. With the notoriety can become books, can become TV specials.
Man, they're on their way. So there's nothing else that can be done. So let's just move on. The cop is in jail. That's the most important thing to me. The cop who kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 47 seconds, whatever it was, he is in prison, guilty on all charges. That's it. Right. That's it, because we can't do anything more than that.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot. But it has been politicized now. So now George Floyd is going to be something that politicians use to get votes.
Right.
You know, yeah. I got the George Floyd statue here for you. And the voters are so emotional, they don't even realize it. You know, it's like, even with you mentioned Detroit. They voted for Rashida Tlaib in the second poorest district in the country at the time, the 13th district in Michigan. And she campaigned talking about Palestine and children in cages at the border. But Michigan is far removed from the border. and even further removed from Palestine. She did nothing to address the needs of the people in her district. And guess what? They voted for her. So what I'm showing you is how easily manipulated the Black voters tend to be when you strike an emotional chord with them. And I suspect this is why they're pushing this George Floyd thing. I mean, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, said George Floyd's death had a greater impact than the assassination of Dr. King. You know, when you say things like that, right, very simple-minded people will really feed into it. Again, I think George Floyd's death was unfortunate, tragic, criminal. The cop is in prison. Okay, there's nothing more we can do.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, that sends a strong message to the next Derek Chauvin who wants to abuse the authority. So to me, the system, it worked as it should work, albeit after the fact, but it worked nonetheless. There was corrective measures taken. This cop was made an example for any other cop who thinks they can get away with abusing somebody like that. But after that, it's done, man. And it's on to the next. We gotta keep living. We can't stay stuck in the past, especially when the past is so ugly. It's like you're addicted to trauma. You know what I mean? Like even after it's over, you don't want to let it go. You want to keep reliving it. Right. That's some kind of psychosis going on there.
Yes. Now, where can we see this movie, Black, White, and Blue?
Internationally, you can see it on Vimeo. If you go to the website, blackwhiteandbluefilm.com, all the tabs are there, but the most popular place is Amazon. On Amazon, the film has 5 stars. Because I have my own server for Scoon TV, we're working out certain things right now, but I'm going to host the film on my site, and I will sell it directly from my site. But you know, the site itself happened so quickly. We're kind of learning as we go, working things out. The site, ScoonTV.com, came about after Trump was suspended from Twitter. So that was in January. So the idea was conceived in January, and by April 20th, I executed the rollout. You know what I mean? So when you think of how fast that was put together, a news site covering politics, business, and social issues, no entertainment. When you think of the speed with which I put that out, like people plan these type of things for a while before they execute. So yeah, so you know, I put together a team. I had some really good help, and I want to sell film off my site and everything, but that's to come later. Until then, I suggest go to either Vimeo or Amazon. It's on Google Play and Vudu as well, VUDU, Vudu as well. But I prefer Amazon or Vimeo.
Right. For all the listeners, that it's a very good film and it's definitely worth watching. I watched it when you first on Amazon when it first came out. So yeah, it's a very good film.
I mean, it got a lot of great reviews, and the thing is, right, I criticize the Democrats a lot, but let me make it clear. I am not a Republican, right? The thing is, if Black people vote upwards 90% Democrat, if we have complaints, do we complain to the people that we don't vote for, or do we complain to the people that we voted for? Right. Who's supposed to address our needs? The people we didn't vote for? What incentivizes them? We hold whoever we vote for accountable. And in our case, it's upwards of 90% going towards Democrats. So we can't let Democratic mayors, governors, senators, or even presidents get off by saying it's the Republicans' fault. Keisha Lance Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta, just came out and blamed high crime in Atlanta on Republicans. Keisha, you're a Democrat. This is your city.
Right.
There's things you did and didn't do, you failed to do, that brought this situation about. Take ownership of it. Yo, man, so many of us, right? Accountability is like a bad word. You know, like I make mistakes. And when I do, I say, yo, that's on me. But the reason why people avoid accountability, because accountability doesn't require simply saying, I'm sorry. It means you're going to have to do something to correct the mistake.
Right.
And that's the part people try to avoid.
Right.
Nobody wants to do the work. No one wants to make the sacrifice. Everyone just wants to talk. They want to get on the soapbox and listen to the sound of their own voice.
Right. Well, you're a man of many hats. Another hat I'm gonna give you is the king of segues, because I already had a question for ScoonTV.com, where the truth may be offensive, but it's never a sin, which is a good line there. Now, talk about the writers and contributors.
Well, I have writers, published journalists who write in my town hall section. That's where you'll find my exclusive content, right? However, the site is also a news aggregator site, meaning that we pull stories from other sources and put them on the site. You'll see that in the latest news, the international news, etc. But if you want our exclusive content, it's in the town hall section, views from the left, right, and center, right? So I write in the town hall, but some of my journalists wrote for Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Daily Caller, Black Enterprise, etc. And there's some really good pieces in there for people who like to read. Reading isn't as popular as it once was. Mm-hmm. So we're also going to start hosting unique podcasts. Today, I'm going to film the debut episode of a new podcast that's going to be on Scoon TV that I'm not doing any interviews with. I got two people, one of whom is Barrington Martin II, who ran for Congress against John Lewis in Georgia and got the highest number of votes ever against the legend John Lewis. Barrington was only 30 years old when he ran against John Lewis, right? Barrington's a sharp guy, but his podcast partner, that's a surprise. And we're gonna, when we get that episode in the can, it's gonna be hosted exclusively on Scoon TV. You know, I used to do the politicking podcast with Jason Whitlock. Mm-hmm. Jason is about to do his own thing with Blaze called Fearless. However, what I wanted to do was to start hosting our podcast on my site. And to me, what sense does it make to host your content anywhere else other than your own site, your own server? You know what I mean? Like, right. Why would I put my stuff on YouTube if I have my own server? I don't need their server. So I did it for a while because Jason, he believes that, you know, YouTube reaches more people. Maybe it does. I'm pretty sure it does. However, I think that if your content is good enough, you have to train your audience to go where you need them to go to find it, not go where it's convenient for them all the time, especially when I have my own server. Why am I paying for a server, paying journalists, all of these things, and not hosting my own content? So yeah, I'm going to host my own content, my own podcast. Myself, most of the stuff that I do is going to be behind the paywall. I have 2 subscription levels, $4.99, well, 3. The first one is free. You get the newsletter every week. The second level is the primary level, sticking to the political theme. The primary level, you get my vlog. outtakes from Black, White, and Blue, behind the scenes footage, etc. The premium level is called the presidential. And you get to see all of my exclusive interviews. I'm moving my podcast to behind my paywall, but I'm providing other podcasts and podcasters to people who are just coming to the site for free. But it has to be hosted on my site. I'm just not out here chasing attention, man. It has to be strategic, and I have to funnel that attention to a place that works for me. The beauty of having my own site with my own server is that I can watch my analytics in real time, and I'm just blown away when I see people on 6 different continents logging on to Scoon TV, whether it be Peru, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, in South America, India, China, Japan, in Asia, in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. It's just fascinating. Africa, there's about 9 or 10 countries in Africa. Europe, Scandinavia, Russia. People are, well, of course, Canada and Mexico. I mean, when I watch it, right, I'm understanding the potential. So what I'm doing now is I'm giving contributors, potential contributors, the opportunity to submit articles. And I want contributors from abroad, or even contributors from America who want their articles published. I'm giving people a shot. You went to school for journalism and communications and all this, and your job has nothing to do with it. Well, dust off the degree and those skills and make a submission to Scoon TV. I'll get your work out there. You never know, it may be the start of something for you. You see? And I'm offering the same thing to my Twitter followers. I've already published one Twitter follower's article. His name is Mike Hicks, and his article is called "It Takes a Village." This is a guy who follows me on Twitter, interacts with me, and submitted his article. And it's published. And he can send it out. He can use it as an example, like, listen, I wrote for Scoon TV. He might get a job somewhere else. You understand what I'm saying, man?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what I'm about, man. We talk about reinvesting in the community, but everyone does it with lip service. They don't really put skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a fight fan. Well, you called me out. You called me out that I was a pro wrestling fan, but I'm also a fight fan also.
Okay, all right.
You're currently filming the documentary Born to Box. Now,
yes.
Obviously it's about boxing, but what are the people that you interviewed? Or is it about one specific person or?
Yeah, it's the story of Adrian Davis. Mm-hmm. So I've been interviewing people he's trained. Keith Holmes was a world champ. Sean Bay Mitchell was a world champ. There's another guy, Sam, I forget his last name, but his nickname is the Vanilla Gorilla. He's a white cruiserweight. Adrian used to train him. And the story is really about Adrian Davis, who trained Hasim Rahman, his most notable fighter, when Rahman knocked out Lennox Lewis and became heavyweight champion of the world. Right. Adrian was his trainer at that time. So now Adrian, he's up in years. He's approaching 80 years old. And there's a fascinating story. He's training a young kid that's 8 years old now named Isaiah Fleming. Isaiah's father is incarcerated for murder. And he's doing a long time, and he's incarcerated with Adrian's son. I forgot his son that's incarcerated name, but together, those two connected Isaiah with Adrian. Mm-hmm. And with a third person that they're locked up with from Baltimore, they decided they wanted to. Well, the third person's a business person. I spoke with him several times, and he wanted to do the documentary about it. So they reached out to some people. We have mutual friends, So they got me on the line. And so I'm talking to these guys who's locked up doing hard time. We all on the phone plotting out how we're going to do this documentary. So the backstory to the film, it's amazing because here it is, you have 3 black men that's in prison. One has 50 years, one has 25 years, and the other has been there for 12 years. I don't know how much time he has to do, right? And they connected this young kid with this old man. And this young kid is giving this old man a second breath of life because he's older and he has the early stages of dementia. But he comes to life whenever he's training because that's like natural for him. And, and this kid is taken to the training like a fish to water, and we're capturing all of this. And then there's the backstory of how all of this happened. Yeah. We're supposed to go to the prison to interview these guys, and I'm going to Vegas. I'm supposed to get some interviews out there. I got to get Rahman on camera. I'm going to New York next weekend to get some footage. I'm expecting to start editing this in September. Mm-hmm. When we start editing the film in September, it should be done by October, November, and then we'll shop it. But it's more than a boxing story.
Right, right.
It's a story about, I mean, listen, Adrian got blinded in his eye because he was a fighter in the ring. He has 2 sons who were pro fighters, Victor Davis, who I interviewed on camera. He got blinded in his eye in the ring. And the one in prison is blinded in the eye, in one eye, and it happened in the ring. So it's all kinds of tragedies, but in the midst of it, we find a way to still try to help each other. And I'm hoping that if we tell it right, and I'm gonna try my best to tell it right, I can only tell it through the interviews that I obtained, right? But I wanna show the perseverance of the black man through this documentary. So yes, it is a boxing documentary, but it's going to be something much more profound.
Right. And we really appreciate your time, you taking out doing this with us, because we're not big time or anything like that. So good. I got one question to ask you. Again, you're a man of many different hats, writer, director. You're doing another documentary also, correct?
Yes, it's called The American Dream. And The American Dream is about Coleman in Detroit.
Okay.
You know, like I backed him when he ran for mayor. I was his largest financial contributor in 2017. Then I backed him when he ran for Congress. Right now, he's running for city council at large. And he's leading in the polls. And it's looking like he's going to win. City council at large is going to put him one step away from City Hall. So what I'm doing is documenting his journey to what I believe is going to end up in City Hall. Not this year, but maybe in 2025. So I'm capturing everything. Part of the reason we won't be editing Born to Box until September is we have to be in Detroit for the first week of August filming the primary. You see, the primary is August 3rd. And also, I got so much footage from last year, I got to put together some campaign commercials for him to use online, you know? So things work out, man. All things perpetuate destiny, right? This is my belief. So I ran him for mayor, ran him for Congress, and we lost, and it cost me a lot of money. But then we started the consulting company and the foundation, and you'll see the banners for both on my website at the bottom, just like the banner for my film. So anyway, it could be, not that it could be, our initial objectives were a little bit too ambitious, but I'm a very ambitious guy, right? However, the work that we did with the foundation, it sort of rebranded him and in its own way made him a serious player because he's doing more. And he did it as a private citizen, not as an elected official. He did it as a private citizen. And most people in elected office, they just there to cash a check and show up when the news cameras are there. And that's not just Detroit.
Right.
That's everywhere. So Coleman, he has a hell of a name. His father was the first black mayor, Coleman Young Sr., legendary icon. As a matter of fact, his father's name is on City Hall. That's the Coleman A. Young building that the mayor walks in. You understand? It's like, so I just think everything worked out, man. Like he's looking good, like he's gonna get elected. And if he get to City Hall, at some point in his future, he's gonna be the mayor. And it means that my efforts and my contributions were not in vain. It didn't go the way I thought it would go, or it didn't happen as quickly as I would have liked it. But it's happening, man. It's happening. So you just got to give thanks and go for the ride, man. He got a lot, you know what? And also, let me say this. Coleman is only 38 years old, right? And he won his first election when he was 23. When I connected with him, he was 34 years old. It just wasn't his time yet, man. But by the time, hypothetically, and I'm not saying he's going to run in 2025 because he hasn't even won in 2021, right? But in 2025, he would be 43 years old, man. You know, yeah. By the time he get elected, because his birthday is in October, he's going to turn 39 this year. So he will be 43 years old, and he would have been such a seasoned vet.
Right.
He would probably be a better mayor. He may have got elected 4 years ago and been out of office as quick as he got in, because being a mayor is a lot. And I think, you know, divine order, man.
Right.
He'll get there when it's time for him to get there.
Right.
And the rest of us just got to play our part and wait our turn, man. Right. That's what I'm doing.
So there's 2 documentaries. Business owner, you have to be a therapist, a psychotherapist, a best friend, a partner, everything all into one.
Well, listen, I own a mental health, outpatient mental health facility with my business partner. Because of my politics, I don't ever name my business because I don't want to draw any kind of heat to my business partner, right? Because a lot of people just don't really they don't like my confidence and so on and so forth. I could take the heat, but my business partner is very discreet and I wouldn't want to put him in any kind of situation, right? However, I'm not a clinician. I'm not. I don't even have a college degree. You understand? So what I do is I'm a business person, man. I know how to set up businesses. I'm a tactician, a strategist. I know how to overcome obstacles. So we employ about roughly close to 20 W-2 workers and about 40 contractors. And we hire doctors, therapists, caseworkers, and everything. And a lot of my employees are Black, upwards of 90% of them, probably upwards of 95%. And I take pride in that, man, you know? Like everything I do, whether you agree with my takes or not, if you look at my work, everything I do is beneficial to Black people, whether it be Black, white, and blue, whether it be my work with Coleman in Detroit, whether it be the STEM program, whether it be Scoon TV. Everything I do is beneficial to Black people. So understand this. It's okay if you don't understand my methodology, you know, because I'm moving on certain levels, doing certain things that a lot of people aren't familiar with. The biggest mistake they can make is to assume that we have the same options and that we are the same. Right. How the next person play their hand is based on the cards they're dealt, not the cards I hold. If you're going to make certain moves, well, that might be best for you. But just please acknowledge that I'm holding a different hand than yours. See, and that's my thing about equality. People are quick to think everybody's the same. No, there's no such thing as equality in my life. There's only hierarchical order and authority. There's a pecking order in everything, everywhere. And you got to figure out where your place is. Miscalculation is the first step to failure and defeat. When you start thinking that you're the equal of somebody who's obviously in a superior position than you, you are going to learn a hard lesson and you're going to be very embarrassed.
Right. So with all that, my last question is, at the end of the day, where do you find solace?
Woo! I find solace in helping people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really where I find solace. When I'm able to help people, I feel like it's all worth it. Everything that I did, everything that I went through. Yeah, I feel like it's all worth it. I love the fact that I was able to help Coleman. I love the fact that my boy Dutch, who's in Detroit, moved to Detroit on my ask to oversee things there because I can't be there.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Yo, man, I love the fact that, man, there's a great possibility that if Coleman wins, Dutch is going to be his chief of staff. I just love all of this, man. I love the fact that I met Asia when she was working in a clothing store, and she told me she was a film major. And I thought to myself, who the hell's going to hire her?
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand the challenges people who look like us face, especially in that world. Oh, they don't mind us being in front of the camera. That's our designated spot. But who are we to think we should be behind the camera? You see, and now Asia has a film. She is a published director. She's in the IMDb. There's so many Black people who went to school for, filmmaking, and all they got is the music videos of nondescript rappers on their reel. She has a real film with real talent, real people in it. And she's working on 2 other films because she's directing the other 2 films. You saw the trailer for Born to Box?
Yes.
That's Asia's work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, other people been reaching out to her. She doesn't even want to work with anybody else. She's like, no, she's good. She understands me. I understand her. They always ask me, yo, man, you think Asia could do this, that, the other? When I talk to her about it, she's not interested.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's the thing, too, with life. People need to learn, right? Sometimes we say it's racism. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. The reality is people build their network. And when they need to do something, they turn to their network. They're not really looking for new people. So if you're not part of their network, they're not even going to consider you. Myself, Asia, Dutch, my guy Skip here in DC, that's my network. And we are all coming up together. So when we need to do anything, we're not looking for new people. They could be Black, white, Jewish, it doesn't matter. We're going to stick to who we worked with and had success with. And that's why when people reach out to Asia, and I didn't even have to tell her that. That's something she did on her own naturally. Because when people want to reach out to her, I'd let her know. She was like, nah, I'm all right.
Mm-hmm.
She don't want to work with them, So a lot of times when you reach out to people, right, they're not really interested. And it's because they have no track record with you. They don't really know who you are. And I'm gonna leave your people with this because I could go all day. but one of the things is this, man. I believe you don't really know people until you have money dealings with them.
Well, you can see that from all the behind the music specials and all those guys. They when they come into the game, they have no money. They're the best of friends. Once when money get into play, that's when you get the true feelings. Yeah,
So it doesn't even, people don't want to take chances, man. If I don't really know you, I don't want to wait till there's some money going on. Next thing you're suing me, I'm suing you. Nobody, but if you've never been in a position to have anything to lose, you don't understand that. You just think the world is against you. Nah, man. You gotta build your own network, and you gotta uplift your circle. You gotta find your peers and be like, listen, y'all tired of being here in the basement? Let's try to get up to the first floor.
Right.
The 4 of us, the 5 of us, the 2 of us, whoever it is. And then when y'all succeed in getting there, why would you want to change places with anybody? This team worked out good. Right. And there's times you may take on new people, but you got to bring them in gradually. You just can't bring people in at a high level and trust them. And for my website, Scoon TV, I had someone come in. They were very, very good, excellent. Helped organize everything right away. Then, without warning, they quit. And not for anything I did or anything I didn't do. I paid them what they asked for. They asked for it. So it's not like I was lowballing them. They said, this is what I want to do. But what I did do was start limiting their responsibilities. And you got to understand personalities. For some people, money is everything. For other people, they like to have their hand in everything. Right. And if you don't allow them to do that, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, so I suspect that was the problem with this person. I don't know. I know I never did anything wrong. I pay everybody on time, ahead of time. So money is not the issue. And I definitely don't disrespect people. So there's all kind of personality quirks, man. So when you bring new people in a situation, you don't really know these people, man. So you got to kind of like, bring them in gradually, not give too much responsibility to them. Otherwise, you'll be at their mercy.
And that's a great way to end it off. Plug all your social media.
Okay. My Twitter is at Scoon TV. My Instagram is at Scoon TV. My news media site is ScoonTV.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, Curtis Scoon.
And your educational foundation, Coleman A. Young, the second educational foundation.
Yes, if anyone wants to support the foundation, you can go to C as in Charlie, A as in Apple, Y as in Yellow, the number 2, foundation.org, and you can donate. Okay,
now you can reach the Judgmentals at Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at PNL Judgmentals, Instagram at _Judgmentals, and you can email us at pnljudgmentals@gmail.com. Mr. Scoon, Mr. Curtis Scoon, I really appreciate this.
Oh, man, no problem. Thank you so much.
And thank you for taking your time. It was supposed to be, a half an hour?
But I get to talking, man. Look.
And I also got to give a third member to this conversation. This fly that's been flying around. If you see me going like this,
yeah, I see you, man.
It was a fly buzzing around. I'm like, damn, the fly just keeps going everywhere, all around the computer and everything. I keep going like this. I'm like, damn, I hope I ain't on camera doing this.
Oh, yes, you are, brother.
All right, Mrs. Scoon, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Take care.
Fuck poverty. This money, man. Fuck you gotta do, you know what I'm saying?
I can tell you're mad at me just by how your face look. You can check the status on my level, not my Facebook. Comments on my photos, that's why I stay on the low. Most of y'all is associates, so I be on my dolo. Hold up, woke that, whoa, hold the phone. You think all I do is rap? I can do it on my own. That's why I produce the track. Don't wonder where my crew is.